So, easy, super productive tree for Florida. Surinam cherry. They're pretty good if you get a good variety. Flavor is pretty polarizing on these things. Even when they taste good, they can be pretty heavy on the bell pepper flavor. And it's like a mix of like a sweet tart cherry and green bell pepper. It's it's one of those things, you eat more of them, you kind of get a taste for it, and they start tasting better and better. Now, you can see these are kind of in various stages of ripeness. They start out tiny and green. There's a couple there, and they kind of transition to orange to a red to a deeper red, which I think the most ripe one so far is down here. Yeah, so they start turning into these nice red, bright red cherries. And then, so this is a Zill Dark variety, so it'll continue ripening to like a deep dark purple, and they're just pretty good. I've had some that taste like gasoline or diesel fuel, or at least the way that it smells. They can be pretty gross if you don't get a named variety, but you can grow them from seed. They come true to type. So if you eat a good one that you like, you can plant the seed, and if it didn't cross pollinate, you'll probably get something pretty similar. Now I'm in zone 9B, so I can plant this thing outside. It does pretty well. I'm pretty sure they're tolerant somewhere in the 20s. Like, you can see from the cold, it did burn a little bit. We got down to like 35 last year at the coldest, or was it earlier this year? So they do get speckled, and you know, tell you that they don't like the cold, but obviously the new growth, they come right out of it. They don't really care. This is a not super established tree either. I've only had it in the ground maybe a year or so. But you can prune them as a bush, prune them as a tree like I'm doing. I'll probably, after this is done fruiting, I'll chop it back here and kind of train it up a little higher, make it more of the shape of my Barbados cherry, which also needs to be pruned back, but I'll do that after it's done fruiting. Yeah, they're pretty nice little fruits. If you got the space for one, I'd say throw it in. They're so easy. Like, I don't do anything for it. It's in full sun, and I don't water it. So you can see they make big juicy fruits. You can make, if you don't like the flavor of it, I'm pretty sure when you cook them, that kind of bell pepper flavor gets cooked out. I know historically in Florida, people used to make pies out of them. But you see how big that is. I mean, that's bigger than maybe the size of a Rainier cherry, I would say. But definitely get your hands on one. You can keep them in pots too. This thing fruited for me in a pot pretty early on. I got a couple of fruits, but once it gets on the ground, you just get loaded. I did have a red one earlier today because a bird had gotten it. So the birds like them. I'm expecting to fight the birds for these all the time, but I'm okay with that. They need to eat too, and they're not my favorite fruit. So if this thing is producing regularly and they're distracting the birds, then I'd say go for it, birds. Please eat these other than my other things. But I think you can graft Patanga tuba onto these if you want to use them as a rootstock. I'm not sure what else they're compatible with, but I haven't tried it myself, so that might be an experiment to do later. So I've got that fruiting Patanga tuba in there, even though Patanga tuba I think takes 2 to 3 years from seed, from what I've seen with mine. So it might not even be worth doing that unless you have a good variety that you want to make sure that you keep the flavor on. But yeah, I don't have much else to say. It's not super amazing or interesting, but definitely get your hands on one if you're in Florida.